Thursday, May 19th, 2022, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. We're going to look at how the UN has warned about a global food crisis for the next few years. And I think that's a serious warning. Am I a fan of the UN? No, but sometimes we need to listen to institutions like the UN, because if they're saying that, it's probably even worse. Before I start out, I like to say that on this channel, if you're new to this channel, if you're viewing this channel for the first time, we talk about markets, economics, central banking, monetary policy. We try to integrate all those topics with history as well, because we feel that history is a very good indicator of what could happen in the present and in the future. Of course, it doesn't happen exactly the same way. And yes, so think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And if you do, make sure you hit the little notification bell to be notified of all my new videos. We make a video every day here. Sometimes we make more than one. We have a Sunday live stream at 9 p.m. London time that usually goes on for just over an hour, and we cover many topics during the live stream, but we also take a lot of your questions and try to answer them. So, food crisis. Of course, it's not new. We have seen food prices increasing quite a bit in the last 12 to 18 months. It hasn't been just because of the Ukraine war, as the article that I'm going to reference says. It's been because of many factors. I think the most important one really is inflation. And by inflation, I mean the excessive creation of currency and credit that we've had basically since 2008, since the 08 crisis. And this initial creation of currency and credit in 08, 09 took the inflation flowed into financial assets, not into real goods like commodities, food, energy, services. So it was the good kind of inflation, but we're now realizing that credit and currency flows wherever it wants to, and right now it's starting to flow into the things that we need the most. I would also say that a lot of the investments that we've had in this credit-driven economy that we live in the West has gone into technology, has gone into financial speculation, financial engineering. We've outsourced a lot of production in our countries. We've outsourced the supply chain. We've also got the green agenda. For example, in the UK, the government is giving farmers £600 per hectare to stop growing crops and actually letting their farms grow weeds because of this green agenda. I think this is going to be reversed, not because of political reasons, but by necessity. We're already seeing BlackRock reverse its policy on ESG. They're going to start reinvesting in oil companies. So I think there's a lot more than what the UN is saying here. So let's go through this article. It's in The Guardian. Am I a Guardian reader? No, but I found the story this morning, and I think it's pretty serious. So, Ukraine war has stoked global food crisis that could last years, says UN. Again, I think the Ukraine crisis is only part of the story. But anyway, let's keep going. Shortages of grain and fertilizer could cause mass hunger and famine says chief, as World Bank pledges another $12 billion to ease shortfall. Yeah, it's a pledge. It's not real money. Is it going to solve the problem? Well, there's that old saying, you can give the man the fish, but it's much better to teach him how to fish. I think this is just another one of those. And the fertilizer problem actually was starting way before the Ukraine war. I remember last year when energy prices were already going up, and a lot of the energy price move in fossil fuels was because of this green agenda. And yeah, so it's not just the Ukraine, as I said. The United Nations has warned that the war in Ukraine has helped to stoke a global food crisis that could last years if it goes unchecked. As the World Bank announced an additional $12 billion in funding to mitigate its devastating effects. Do I think it's going to mitigate any devastating effects? No, the more they do, it's just the same. I know it's the World Bank, but it's basically government. The more they do, the more of an opposite effect it has. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says shortages of grain and fertilizer caused by the war, warming temperatures, and pandemic-driven supply problems threaten to tip tens of millions of people over the edge into food insecurity. I would say it's more than tens of millions. Think about more, hundreds of millions, I would say. As financial markets saw share prices fall heavily again on fears of inflation and a worldwide recession. Speaking at a UN meeting in New York on global food security, he said what could follow would be malnutrition, mass hunger, and famine in a crisis that could last for years, as he and others urged Russia to release Ukrainian grain exports. Well, that definitely would help, wouldn't it? But then the West would have to lift all the draconian sanctions and the theft of Russian foreign reserves. Is that going to happen? I'm not too sure about it. He said he was in intense contact with Russia and other countries to try to find a solution. The complex security, economic, and financial implications require goodwill on all sides for a package deal to be reached, he said of his discussions with Moscow, Ukraine, Turkey, the US, the European Union, and others. I will not go into details because public statements could undermine the chances of success. I'm going to stop right here. He talks about goodwill. Do you really think there's goodwill between the West and Russia and China, for that matter? I don't think so. And the crisis or the war in Ukraine that we've had for the last 3 months proves that. So I'm afraid it's only going to get worse. And it's not just a crisis that was stoked by the war in the Ukraine, the crisis of hunger or food insecurity and higher food prices. It's been building up for decades, and you could argue or go back to 1971 when they took us off, well, Richard Nixon and his advisors took the world off gold backing for the United States dollar. And why was that important? Well, because it lifted the anchor on credit creation, and all that credit creation has gone into, yes, it's gone into real things like food production, manufacturing, but it's gone in a huge way towards things that are not really necessary, things like financial engineering, speculation, massive credit creation, government spending, and government spending and big government always crowds out the private sector, the private economy. It's gone into an orgy of credit creation that has made people believe they can borrow and spend all the time with no consequence. And then, as I said, I think there has been a relative neglect of things like food, energy, infrastructure, at the expense of financialization. And I think that's the problem. What's going to be the solution? Well, the solution is going to be just when this system that we have right now basically breaks down and we have to rebuild. That's the only way forward. There's no magic bullet like the UN things. That we cannot avert this crisis. And how do you prepare for it? Well, it's not going to be plain sailing. It's going to be tough times ahead. And yeah, will buying food and storing it do any good? Maybe a little bit, but I think all you need to know that is it's going to get more and more expensive. You might have to change your priorities. Stop doing some kind of discretionary spending that you don't really need and focus on feeding yourself and your family. Think about if you have savings to maybe, in my opinion, I'm not advising, to put some of that savings into commodities, into gold and silver, into assets that are going to continue to benefit from the inflation. And that might help you sail through these stormy waters that we're going to see. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.